Off the Plasterer. How's that?
Yeah, it helps if you turn the microphone on. Oh, should I go back to the beginning? Let's start again.
Off the Plasterer.
Good evening. Welcome to, for the second time this evening, Ask the Plasterer with me, Eric the Plasterer. I've been a plasterer for 36, nearly 37 years, and I'm here to answer any of your plastering related questions. We get a lot of the usual guys come along tonight. Evening guys, thanks for coming. I haven't oiled my chair, so I'm afraid that it's still squeaking a little bit, but I'll try not to move too much, and I'll try not to slap my thighs. I've got trousers on, by the way, but they just happens to be shorts. Okay. Right. Anyway, yes, Christmas is coming. Oh dear, what a lovely day it's been today. Right. Okay. Right. Where were we? Wow, there's some guy outside of his. I don't know if you're picking that up. His music is so loud, my windows are vibrating. Ah, dear, oh dear. On top of people playing their music too loud when I'm trying to do a live stream, I don't know if you get this. I'm assuming it's a practice thing that the police do, but every couple of evenings, or as it was this evening, a little while ago, get a helicopter, comes flying over, goes round and round, makes a lot of noise, doesn't seem to do anything in particular. I assume it's the coppers practicing. Can't think what else it would be on such a regular basis, but I digress. Welcome to Ask the Plasterer with me, Eric the Plasterer. Right, where were we? Yeah, hello. No sound yet. Now we've got sound. Can't hear you, mate. I hope you can hear me now. No sound. Hi, Eric. Yep. Oh, yep. As you can hear me now. Yeah. Like you're going underground, mate. Yes, mate. Live from where am I? King's Cross, I think it is. Live from London. And I thought, yeah, we better change the backgrounds a bit, have a bit of something to look at, and possibly discuss my superhero antics over here. Instead of my hobby is when I'm doing other video stuff other than plastering related. I thought I want to put them up there for tonight. Underground, yeah. Evening, Ashley. Diggity, yay. And here you now, mate. Good. Swayze, hi, mate. How's things? Yeah, very good. My job, I set all this up this morning because I thought I was going to be really running late to finish this garden room. For those of you that know, or those of you that are on Discord, hang on, swap this over quick. On the old Discord server, community server. Well, no, and would have seen some pictures of the job I was doing the end of last week and today, and it was a garage, an office garden, and I was just doing the walls today. I boarded it all, did the ceiling on Friday, and just hit the walls today. And I thought that might take a little while, but it was okay. Right, on my picture that I can, it says excellent connection. My picture to you on this other monitor looks really fuzzy. but I'm sure you would have told me if it was really fuzzy. Anyway, again, I'm waffling. Yeah, so I was doing that job today. I thought I put a couple of walls on and then put another couple of walls on, but I put a little bit of Easy Mix plaster retarder in my first batch, a couple in a bit bags. I only put one packet in mine, but it seems to do the trick. And I put the big wall on at the back and the two side walls, and that just left me the wall around a big door opening. And I stuck a bit of extra time, half time in that, so it went off a lot quicker. And so I finished that wall, and it's just a case of spending the next 2 hours tidying up and walking the very long walk from the end of this garden down the side of the house, down some more steps from the front door to the car where I could pack it all away. So that took a while. But and then I remembered I hadn't popped the plug sockets, so I hadn't cleaned those out. So I cleaned those out, and I washed the floor as is. It was a hard floor. When I took the plastic out, it was a bit dusty, and I can't be having that. I need the customer to be happy with the end result, and they were very happy, I'm pleased to say. Another background here I've got this evening. I thought I'd just make a bit of a change. A bit of the moon, bit of flying over the old clouds if you just want to chill out a bit this evening. And as usual, you can call this evening into the studio on 07516 214 983, 07516 214 983, and talk to me live. Unless this is the recorded video, in which case you can't talk to me live. But hey, right this second, as I speak, we are going live. You can ring or you can type. Right, got no fizzy drinks tonight, but I do have some coffee from the old pod machine jobby, and it does come out a treat. Relax. It's back to front, but it does say relax. Right, okay. Ian, you got one for me, right? Got a crack that needs sorting out by a bay window that needs filling. Not sure how to go about it. The bay area is large. All of that is next to it. Cement. The crack is in between. It's in between. So the crack is where the cement wall is meeting, where the cement is coming up to the bay. If you're just filling in cracks, mate. I mean, if they're teeny weeny hairline cracks, which I'm assuming this isn't, you can 9 times out of 10 you can paint over those and the paint seals them up. If they're a bigger crack, then the best bet, I might decorate a. What I tend to do is I cut it out in a V shape, so I make the crack bigger basically. Spray a bit of. This is the only time I water down PVA. Spray a bit of watered down PVA into the crack, let that go off, and then I tend to always use a lightweight filler because it doesn't sag and doesn't shrink, and you can fill up big holes with it as well, and that fills in cracks quite nicely. And then let that go off, and what should be your uncle, that one. Decorating it, on the other hand, a different situation. Quite what decorators say that they put a bit of watered down PVA over some filling that they do, because I've noticed when I've done it, when I've painted something that I put filler on in patches or cracks, that the filler does suck the water out of the paint a bit quicker. And I'm I decorate, but I'm no decorator. So perhaps you might get a decorator popping in tonight or calling this tonight. Don't have to be a plasterer to be on Ask the Plasterer. I hope that answers your question, Ian, to some degree. Ian, the bonding do. Possibly. Then bonding's not going to. Yeah, I've never filled and finished off and painted over a crack that I've just used bonding on, even if it's bonding that I've kind of troweled up over. I've always got something over the top of it. A lot of customers that have got cracks in some of their rooms and stuff, I say, look, When it comes to cracks, really, you can't start putting fiberglass tape over them or anything like that. And filling in cracks is generally a filling job, and it's more a decorator's line than it is a plasterer's line. If you don't want the cracks to come back through, I have to make sure the wall's secure, and basically we'll be able to put fiberglass over where the cracking is and skim it. And if that's what you want me to do as a plasterer, I'm happy to do that. That's what I tell the customer, which is true. Yeah, I tend to not fill little cracks in, or ones like that I will, with a bit of fillet if it's part of a big plastering job I'm doing. But I won't go and do jobs that are lots of cracks everywhere. Anyway, well, not at the minute anyway. If work gets tight, who knows? Diggity, noisy background. Can you hear me? Hey, I don't know if you were a bit. I thought you was being serious then. I thought the helicopter or the go outside with the noisy stereo might have been coming on through, but the helicopter's gone, and he's with a boom blaster in the back of his car. He's gone, so it should be nice and quiet, apart from my occasionally creaky chair and me trying not to slap my thighs, because on here it's not too bad, but when I listen to the podcast of this back, it drives me mad. So God knows what it does to anyone else that's listening, especially if they're listening to the whole thing when they're at work or whatever. Ian, crack's pretty mega. Oh, so quite a big old crack. Must have a void running from under the window coming under the window to the skirting. So is this where, like, I'm going to pull the camera off the wall to show you the cracks in my bay window. But where a bay juts out, you always get, or will get at some point, cracking down where the bay starts, or it goes outwards from the actual room. Those cracks are fairly normal. Not too bad. I've filmed them before, but they do, after a while, they do open up again. The only way to kind of remedy that would be to put some kind of mesh over it, skim it. Yeah, if that's what you mean. So it's coming from, literally as I'm looking at mine, from underneath the windowsill, the crack comes down like this, right down to the top of the skirting. And yeah, mine only one on this side. That's I've got more than one. Is 2 or 3 mil white crack, and that side's about 5 mil white crack. But I would just put filler in it. If it's opened up like an inch or half an inch or something, then yeah, they'll fill it with bonding, and then possibly put some filler over the top of the bonding if you're not skimming that whole area anyway, and sort it out that way. Mister, hello Mister, do you find it difficult to cut bolts for landings, stairs? Any chance of or information? I struggle with the angle. You mean the angle going up the stair, literally up the staircase? Yeah. I tend to struggle with those as well. Fortunately, I haven't had to bolt or dab out from the stairwell wall with plaster balls for a long time. I'm normally just skimming them or giving them a coat of bonding, and then skimming those, so floating and setting them, as opposed to doing a dab job on them. Yeah, there are technical ways of measuring it so you get your cut right. But if I was good at measurements, I'd be a carpenter. But no, all I can tell, when I am cutting like for an angled ceiling, the room where I've just been working, because it was a garden office, ceiling was an angle coming down, and I had to bolt that, and I had bolts up to a certain height when it was straight, and then the length or width of the bolt, you basically measure from the bottom of the bolt up to, well, in your case it would be the reverse, it would be down to skirting for the lower part, and then from the straight edge of the board down to the higher part, you mark those two on your plasterboard, and then that line between the two should fit down onto your what's it called? Stringer is it? For the stairs for that, but even still, it takes practice. Sometimes it works really well when I'm doing it, and other times I have, even now, cut a board completely back to front, but then stuck it on the other way round and just put a bit of PVA over it because, plasterboards work for nowadays. You're meant to put them right side out, which is what we do. Back in the day, white side was for architects or decorating only, and the brown side before the writing on was the side you plastered. And after God knows how many years in British gypsum, they've been around 100 years or so, doing it that way since they invented plasterboard, they suddenly turned it around the other way and said, plaster the wrong side. What else was it? I think I've said on here before, I did, when that first happened and they changed the rules, I bought a load of plasterboard to do someone's bedroom ceiling, and they were still sleeping in there of an evening, and I stuck all the boards around the usual way, and only to notice, and obviously to the customers' distress when they looked up at it in bed, that it said that on each board, do not plaster this side, do not plaster this side, do not plaster this side. So they rang me, would you believe? Don't blame them. They said they were a bit concerned, but I said don't worry. And I don't even think I PVA'd that. I plastered it as normal, and they never rang me back to say it had fallen down or anything adverse had happened to it. But right. Lee, evening Lee. Nice to see you, mate. It's going really well this end, I'm pleased to say. Finished my job nice and early today, and because I allow a bit of extra time on jobs, I've got tomorrow off. Well, I say I've got tomorrow off. I've got to buy gear and that for my next job. But that next job has sent me a few photos of the landing, or the hallway that I'm doing, the staircase, and they said, they thought it would be better if they could pull the ceiling down because it makes the room a lot bigger and brighter. So I'm assuming they've got some kind of false ceiling that I didn't realise they had going down the stairs, and they sort of said because they don't know what they're doing. When I do it, and of course I can do it for more money, because I'm allowed to rip down a ceiling, or the extra plastering that might involve in this bigger, brighter area that they found. But I'll tackle that when I come to it, and I'll let you know what's what. We'll put a picture on Discord. Yeah, do that. Ian. Put a picture on Discord. Good lad. What are you on there as? You're not on there as Ian Davies, are you? I've been chatting to you for months on there, mate. Not realised it's you. James. Hi. The underground background comes with loud noise. Oh no! Someone should have told me that sooner. In here. Oh, flipping out. Hang on, mate. That one. Right, okay. Oh, I thought Diggity was kidding when he said the background noise of the underground was noisy. Is that a lot better? Oh man, that's going to drive people spare. Especially if they listen to the podcast of this show afterwards. Background comes with... Right, okay, so hopefully that's stopped now. Oh, good. Cheers, James. Dear. You see, he's changed these things. Most backgrounds you put up, they don't come with any kind of sound. But some do. And unless you're really vigilant, which I'm not, and you look at it and you think, oh yeah, it's got the old sound things going up and down. And you have to turn those off. So anyway, I've done that now. So peace is restored. You can hear me nice and clearly. I don't know how loud or how noisy that background sound was, but I was just thinking, thank God it's over. Yeah, sorry, Diggity. I thought you was having a laugh. Not that it was literally there's background noise from the underground. So you might have thought I was really sitting outside an underground station. Anyway, and the other ones, obviously, they're okay. There's no... let's have a little swapsy over. There's no There's no horrible backgrounds. There's no kind of whooshing through the clouds noise on this one. I'll take it. Sorry, Mark. Yeah. Yeah, it meant to feel like, yeah, I'm in London because I am. I thought, oh yeah, put a station up. That'll, that'd be quite good. But I didn't realise it had a noise on it as well. But anyway, it's getting a bit of fuzzing up here. I don't like fuzzing on my old green screen. That I do. Live with it. You are really noisy. It's not really noisy now, though, is it, mate? Tell me there's no noise, diggity, on this screen. Oh dear. Okay. Right, so there's no. I'll just double check. There's no noise on this one. I won't be going back to the first newsroom one because I only use that at the beginning anyway. There should be some music on this one, but that's only if I really desperately have to go for a wee, and generally that's not a problem I have to face. Oh dear. What's on this one? Yeah, let's go back to a bit of floating in the clouds. Right. Yeah, for those that have just joined us that have never seen Ask the Plasterer live stream before, thinking, this guy I'm Eric the Plasterer. I have been a plasterer in South London for the last 36, nearly 37 years, and I'm here to answer any plastering related questions. That can be, you can be a complete novice, you can be a DIYer, you can be a time-served tradesman. Yeah, just this channel is for you, and Ask the Plasterer is for you. We go out every other Monday at 7 o'clock, or from 7 o'clock. We normally go on for about an hour and a half, which is long in some people's instances, but some live streams I've seen for other things go on for 3 or 4 hours. So I think an hour and a half's not bad, but I only stay on that long if there's enough people to chat with. And thanks to my regular guys, that's generally always the case. But yeah, if you are new, up a question, you might be a potential customer that wants to know something about plastering, fire away. That's why I'm here. Yeah. I mean, the more of these I do, I can learn just to fill in when it is quiet. Silver, hello, mate. I think we have been the only ones use the card. Oh yeah, has anybody else used the Carter Easy Skim? Yeah. I mean, I've used it. I put a review up for it. It's not on here this evening, but it's on the channel if any of you haven't seen that and would like to. I've used it obviously for the review, and Silver's used it as well for and I quite like it. He quite likes it. The last job I've done, I haven't used it particularly on that one. Only really because on this particular job it went really well, but I felt a bit under pressure and I just wanted to go with what I knew. So I used my standard Marshall towel filleted on the 1200mm speed skim for ruling off, and my Ox Ultraflex for that final finish at the end, and came out lovely. But yeah, so if any of you other guys have tried the Carter Easy Skim, let us know and give us your thoughts on it, good or bad. James, yes, mate. When you do rendering, do you typically use plasticizer? I always use plasticizer. Plasticizer, waterproofer, and lime in your mixes, or do you think it's not necessary to use all of these? Normally, I will put a waterproofer in my scratch coat, or especially if there's anything going on top that's like a pebble dash or something like that, or if the wall is very porous or it's in the middle of summer, I will put, that's assuming it's a nice summer, not the usual rubbish, I will put a waterproofer in it. So if I'm going to do that anyway, what I tend to do is buy a waterproof plasticizer, which basically is the 2-in-1 that does the same, does both jobs, but only one calendar gear. You've got to buy separate waterproofer and separate plasticizer. So I'll tend to always use that. If I don't want a waterproofer in it, I'll just use the plasticizer. Plasticizer on its own is pretty cheap. Plasticizers with waterproofers and waterproofers are a lot more expensive. I don't always put lime in my mixes. You can obviously use lime as a plasticizer without putting anything else in. But when I am, if I'm going crazy, I will use the lime and plasticizer. But I'll always use one or the other. If there's no lime in it, I will use a retard plasticizer. If there's no plasticizer, then I will use lime as the plasticizer. But you don't need to use all of them. No, Ian. No, need to watch the review actually. Yeah, Ian, have a look at the review on the Carter Easy Skim. I think it says review Carter Easy Skim on the title, so it should be easy to find on the videos section. And see what you think. It's I don't know if you've seen one. It's a fairly bit like razors with 5 blades in, and this is like a trowel basically with about 5 trowels getting smaller and smaller and smaller up to a peak. And when you look at it, you think there's no way I could plaster with it, but when you actually start using it, it's quite easy to use, and it can get what you're putting on quite flat because it's so rigid, not on the edges, which is where it's handy, because obviously the nearer the centre you go, the more solid the trowel is. As you go nearer to the edge with your pressure, the more flexible it is. And obviously the last widest blade is what you're kind of troweling up with. It's a plastic trowel, which gives anyone that's got a plastic trowel, does leave quite a nice finish. But I'm so used to leaving I won't call it polished finish, but yeah, let's call it polished finish with my Ultraflex steel trowel at the end. And if I haven't used it, I feel like I haven't quite finished the job. Yeah. While you're sitting there, guys, thinking for bear with me while I just I've got funny marks in my clouds. That won't do. I'm not careful, the whole thing will fall down in a minute. Oh, that's better. Let's stay like that. Yay! Oh, look at that lovely moon. Yeah, I mean, for the regular guys who are sick of me talking about it, and are all members anyway of the Ask the Plasterer Discord server community, there are links in the video descriptions of all my videos. Get you guys on here so we can chat together. You can chat to me any time of the day, more or less, on there, rather than having to wait for this show to come out every other Monday from 7. Yeah, you can chat on there. There's lots of different sections on it. The guys and me on there, we don't tend to do the live talking, though you can, or videos on there, because we probably all talk over each other if we're all on there at the same time. But you can type stuff, you can put pictures up. I've tried putting some videos up there. I mean, you can have a video where you chat to each other, but trying to put videos up, you can't quite hack it unless you pay the extra. I'm not going to bother with that. So, Silver, have you ever used the Rafina plastic spat? I haven't, mate, but I'm keen to give it a go. And there's another spat. Was it you or someone else mentioned a Marshalltown one that I wouldn't mind giving a try just to see how it pans out and what it's like. Mark, SBR or PVA on a reskim? Oh, Mark, I'm a king of cheap, neat PVA. If you don't know that now, you soon will. I buy the cheapest PVA. Generally, it'll either be from B&Q or actually I can get it cheaper to get the Everbuild stuff. But I mean, donkeys ago when I first started plastering, I would buy like Unibond PVA. It was an absolute arm and a leg for you to buy a little tin like this because it was Unibond. It was like about 10 quid, and I thought I can't be doing this. So I use cheapest PVA I can get, and I use it neat. I don't water my PVA down, and I don't go over it when it's tacky. I let it dry completely, and then I skim it. I'm doing it for donkey's years. I've skimmed things days after I PVA'd them, or if customers PVA them for me, and I'll just get in there and get cracking, put my tape on, stick my beads on with mitre glue often. If it's just old work or really nice plasterboard work I'm going over, because that sets in about 5 to 10 seconds, and knock up the skim and away you go. And if you're in this as a tradesman and time and work is money, and you don't want to work weekends, then you need to dash out what you can as quickly as you can during the week and have the weekends off. Are you hearing me, lads? Don't keep working weekends and bank holidays, because you get to this wrinkly age really quick. When I started plastering when I was 23, 24. And I was going to live forever. I did do work a few weekends then, but as I started getting, I can't remember when I knocked weekends on the head, but just when I got fed up. And then every day seems like the next, which is the only good thing. A Sunday night wasn't very depressing because you'd been to work Saturday and you'd been to work Sunday, so Monday was just another day. But anyway, I'm waffling. So I never, sorry Mark, so I never spend money on SBR or anything like that, because PVA has always sufficed, even when I rendered a porcelain sink for someone, which I PVA'd first. And if you need, or you feel you need some kind of grit in it, then just mix some kiln dry and sand in the PVA and use that. But don't blow your money on the other gear. I find no benefit. I've used it a couple of times when the customers bought it, and I found no difference apart from it's cost them more money. Hopefully that answers your question. Ian, wanted to buy an Ox Ultra Flex the other day, accidentally bought a Semi-Flex instead. I've not got or had a Semi-Flex, so I don't quite know what they're like. Thinking of using it to lay on second coat as well as troweling up. Have you had any experience using the Semi-Flex? No, obviously not. But putting stuff on with any kind of flexible trowel, even a Semi-Flex, I'm assuming that it's still more flexible than a standard like Marshalltown laying on trowel, whether it's carbon or stainless steel. And laying on anything that's flexible can give you issues when it comes to any kind of undulation in plaster, which is why back in the day, and properly by the book, skimming a wall was at least a 3-coat affair. You put the first coat on with your steel trowel, put a second coat on with a wooden float, like a plastic float but wooden, because it's thick and rigid and does not move, which I think is the idea also behind that Carter Easy Skim, that the centre of that trowel is because it's so thick, it puts your plaster on nice and flat. And then when it picked up enough that putting a more flexible trowel, or going back to your Marshalltown, which is all there was at the time, over that, you've got a much nicer, flatter surface. So just laying on even the second coat with a trowel that's slightly flexible, I wouldn't recommend it. It's probably doable, and at the end of the day, it'd have to look really rough for a customer to not be happy with it, I would have thought. But try it out, mate, on one small bit of a small wall, and see how it turns out. If it looks great and it seems to be flat, then go for it. If not, stick with a Marshalltown or a similar style of trowel for laying on, and just use any flexible trowels at or very near the end of your job, or just to polish up. Isn't that the black trowels? I've got my shoulder in the way. Isn't that the black plastic trowel semi thing? Yeah, it might be. We've got those Neelers, haven't you? Nella. Again, there's a lot of good trowels on the market, but I suppose for me doing this, I should buy more trowels and try them out so I can review them. But I think it's a case that, which some guys do, and they've got hundreds of trowels. But I tend to be, if what you've got works, I don't want to go out and blow another. Okay, if someone sends me one for free, absolutely no problem at all. But I don't want to keep going out spending 50, 60, 70, 100 quid on another trowel that I don't particularly need, just for the sake of doing a review on it. But I'm happy to obviously review something that I haven't had to pay for. But and say whether it's any good or not, in my opinion. But yeah, let's have a drop more coffee, guys, while you're. Right, let's have a screen change again just for a little while. So anyone joining us knows that I am Eric the Plasterer, and this is Ask the Plasterer, and I'm here to answer any of your plastering related questions. You can type them up on the screen, or if you're watching this on your tally box in YouTube land, then you can call in on your phone and on 07516 214 983 and talk to me live in the studio, and gives the guys a break of just having to listen to my dulcet tones whilst looking at my mug for the duration of the show. Dear. Oh, okay. Coming off the subject of plastering, it was a lovely day today, nice and warm. Apparently it's going to stay like this till about Thursday in this neck of the woods anyway. Got a big, well, it's not at my house, but one of my sisters is doing a big family barbecue on Sunday when I think the weather's going south as of Friday. So it'll probably no that pour with rain will be freezing cold on Sunday, but hey ho, you can just kind of get used to it living in England, don't you? Summer's just a random, might be great. I mean, if anyone's put off any time or having a little holiday the next couple of days, fantastic. It don't often work that way, does it? Sadly. James, would you ever purchase a cordless battery mixer, or do you think sticking to your refiner is better and cheaper? I'd stick to my refiner, mate, purely because I only do domestics now. It's 240 volt. I can plug it in anywhere, so the lead length doesn't give me any kind of issues. If I was still working on sites, then it would be probably a godsend to have a battery one, and I probably would own one if I did site work, because you haven't got to lump around a transformer with you, which is an extra bit of heavy kit. Like we haven't got enough heavy stuff to carry. And yeah, I mean, they're an arm and a leg, but apparently they've got good torque, they're powerful, and do the job. So I'll probably, as expensive as they are, well, I think I would splash out on one. I don't know. I'm not in a position to have to. But yeah, no, they are good, especially the old DeWalt. But yeah, I'd stick with what I've got for domestic work. You only really need to. There's no real point in buying a battery operated one if you're mostly doing domestics, or if you're just doing domestics. Yeah, it doesn't warrant the expense of just not having a lead, and of course you've got to make sure you're charging the batteries up. And although the batteries are really good on those things, it's still something you've got to charge up or make sure they don't go flat on you, depending on how much you're knocking out that particular day. So as far as I'm aware, the batteries do last a fair old stint, so it shouldn't give you a problem. I'm assuming you get two batteries with it, but if you don't, yeah, I'd be a bit concerned at how expensive the whole thing is. That's a long answer to a fairly short question. Yeah, so thanks for that, James. Cordless mixer, yeah, if you work on site, if you're domestics, I'll just stick with mine. I mean, the refiner, they're pushing about 300-400 quid, but they last forever. I mean, built like tanks. A little bit heavy, but man, build up your muscles, why don't you? They're not that heavy compared to, well, a bit heavier than a drill with a little whisk on. But when I started plastering them, I tried knocking up finish in a big bucket with one of those little, almost like a paint mixing whisk on the end of a drill. I didn't realise how long it would take to get all the lumps out or to mix the gear. So when I did first buy a proper big plaster mixer, I think I hired one first from our shop, and that was a Rufina. And they said, well, they're quality, mate, they last for donkeys, and that's why we buy them, to rent them out for hire, because they last. So that was it for me. I bought one and I've never looked back. I've had 3 in 37 years, so you could probably make them last longer than that if you don't abuse them. I know I'm a bit of a whisk abuser. The first one I ever had, polished and washed, like with most of your tools. I mean, my stilts looked fantastic, and my speed skim, the first one I ever had, I kept that shiny for weeks on end. But you saw them now, mate. You'd be hard to tell whether they were speed skims or not, or some other company. Because cleaning tools is you always get that film build up on trowels and on anything you use, but no matter how often you wash them off, you get a kind of grief with this film that you just have to kind of scrub off in the end or take off with sandpaper. Occasionally, it might, like my trowels, the backs of them, and that I'll clean off. You can soak them, which is what a lot of the guys do. Or I use a Stanley blade in a scraper. You can buy the paint scraper, just put a Stanley blade in it for scraping paint off of glass and things like that. I use that. You have to be a bit careful with it to clean my trowels off when they've got some real hard stuff stuck to them. And then finish them off with a bit of sandpaper. Come out lovely. It's quite hard work, so it'd be probably a lot easier to just soak them in some bicarb or whatever it is. Carbonate of soda, is it? Caustic soda. Or what's his name off the telly? Off of The Repair Shop. One of my favourite programs. That's Dom on there. He's got a YouTube channel as well, which is great. And he sets up a tank and he puts caustic in it and water, but he clips the old battery or charger onto it, so it fizzes the rust and probably the last residue off your trowel. So I might give that a go at some point. A bit easier. James, I've heard the Refina paddles is the best too. The paddle I've got that comes with it, it's a big old paddle. It does a lovely job at mixing. I've seen some other paddles that look like they would literally spray the plaster out of the bucket, because I use the big wide tubs for knocking up my finish as well as my bonding. Probably seen in my videos, I don't use a tall slim bucket for finish and pour it out onto a spot board. 9 times out of 10, because the rooms I'm working in might not fit a spot board in without getting in the way. I only use a spot board when I'm doing ceilings, so my stilts, so I can reach the bucket, but I still keep it in the bucket, keep the bucket on the spot board, so I can reach it when I'm on my stilts rather than have it on the floor. But when I had a labourer, or if I had a labourer, I'd probably still get them to put the stuff on the spot board out of the bucket. Then your labourer's cleaning out your bucket while you're spreading it here on the wall. But when you're working on your own and you have done for years, well, I'll just do it in the bucket, take it straight out of the bucket, and then I can clean the bucket out in the end. But paddles wise, one that comes with it, I'm proud. Yeah. When it gets knackered, I have bought some other slightly different looking ones. You've got to make sure they're not too small, because they just take longer to knock the stuff up, although you've got the torque and the power there. It's nice big whisk at the end of it. Whisk. Yeah. James, do you use the plastic tubs for cleaning buckets too, such as cleaning the drills and tools? I always keep. I've got my big mixing bucket, and I use those big flexible tough tub ones. On their own, they're a bit too flexible, but where I've had a few, when they start to leak, I just put them in inside each other, and so I've got a couple of old ones, and then whatever my new one is, I stick in the top. Keeps it nice and rigid for mixing all my gear in, whether it's bonding or finish. And I have 2 normal black buckets. One I use just for the fresh water. The other one I'll just keep half full up, and I'll clean my whisks off in that in between each set. My tools, my speed skims, I will clean them all off in that one bucket of water. At the end of the job, I will pour the water off of that, because it does tend to settle here, and scoop what's left into a black bag, or add a bit of finish powder or bonding powder to it, and to thicken it up so you can scoop it out easier, and chuck it in a plastic bag to to get rid of or to take home or whatever. And and that's me. So basically just got one bucket then with like dirty slop in the bottom of it rather than little collection. So yeah, 2 normal size buckets, one for fresh water, the other one for cleaning off your tools and your whisk. Right, for anyone that has just joined us, I'm Eric the Plasterer. I've been a plasterer for 37 years. I'm going to say 37 years, 36 or 30. 37 years from South London. I'm here to answer any of your plastering related questions, whether you are a novice, a time-served plasterer, a DIYer, or a customer. I have got a DIY series coming out. It is a series of 10 videos, which I'm working on. So they're only short, I'd say short, 8 to 10 minutes each one. But I've got quite a bit of work to do to get those finished off. I think a lot of you guys might not want to see what's in them. But then again, it's surprising. There's a lot of stuff in some of my other videos that I've taken some bits from that people that don't watch the whole thing don't see. So some stuff when it comes to about angle beads, about plasterboards, about screws, about admixes, about PVA. I'm knocking those out as separate videos to give you the lowdown on each item, what's what with it, and we'll see how it goes. Why not? In the meantime, I'm still waiting for something exciting to video just for release in general. Most jobs, I mean, like this garden office, I did a garden office not that long ago, which is up on video. So to film something very similar again, it's just not a lot of call for it. But what I did do on this job is the walls, thankfully, which made it a lot easier. The walls were already plywood, so I didn't have to work to joist. I could literally screw through into the ply. It was about an inch ply, so it was fairly sturdy, and I was just using 1-inch screws, so I had no issues about going through too much stuff and hitting any cables or anything like that. What I did, there was quite a lot of boxes that I needed to line up my boards with to fit. What I think I thought about in the past but never did it, I've got they're quite cheap to buy now, so I've got a laser level, like a decent one that like shines right up the wall and right across the wall. And basically I've lined up the laser with the edge of a socket and then just put the board into position, so the lines on the board, just marked it out. It's a bit twiddling about, but it's well worth it. Move the board again, move the laser, do a line the other side. I mean, I've done measuring before, but for some reason it never quite fit the hull. But doing it that way, so I've got the laser marks on the left and the right, and then just measure in between the top and bottom. Cut those out. When you put the board back, it's a treat. I will make a video of that. If I'd have thought of it at the time, but I didn't have my camera on me, I would have filmed that and put that up as a video. So I'll do that again. James, Diggity, what size is your big tub? I think it's the biggest one you can get in like the DIY places, like B&Q and what have you, and or even in Selcos. They do some smaller kind of yellow ones, which are obviously bigger than a normal bucket, and then they do a really big. Say really big. See, when my plastering school video and most of my videos, it's got the big tub in, and they're about a tenner, something like that. And I said they're a little bit flexible, but if you've got an older one, or you've got one inside the other, it makes them less wobbly. Which is wobbly is great for like pulling it out and cracking it to chuck the old gear away. But obviously you don't want it wobbling about when you're trying to mix up, especially if you're mixing up 2 bags in it. But it will hold 2 bags of finish with no problem at all. And you've still got a bit of a gap at the top with the bucket. And that's how I use it and what I use it when I'm laying on a lot of walls. I'll just whack up 2 bags in the big tub. Tub, James. Typically I mix in the Rafina buckets and get in the habit of cleaning them. My brother uses the Flexi ones, so I can kick out dry plaster at the end of the day. To be fair, they're easier to maintain. Yeah, again, back in the day, mate, it was tin buckets, and so not flexible at all. So you had to clean those out. If you was a labourer, you could not let any kind of plaster go off in a pack of tin bucket, because they were quite thick buckets. I mean, now they're like tin cans, but they were very old solid buckets, and you had to make sure as a labourer or as a plasterer that they were scrubbed out completely and not left to dry. So yeah, in my opinion, cracking out a plastic one once the stuff's gone off, much easier. Especially if you're a one-man band and you ain't got a labourer to do that kind of stuff. If I still had a labourer, probably sell me whisk, get another tin bath and show him how it used to be done and how lucky it would be to have a whisk and a plunger for knocking the lumps out like a big potato masher. But yeah, flexible buckets every time. I'd rather stuff goes off a bit and you can crack it out. And if a bucket eventually splits, what are they, like about 90 pence or something stupid? Aren't they, a £1 a bucket? So if you wreck a nice metal one, £2 down the drain. Zoltar, hello mate. Evening all. Yeah. It's Zoltar, what's the time? You always turn up about now. I don't know if you've had a nice relaxing bath for your dinner or if you've just been listening in. But it's lovely to have you along, mate. Well done. Let's change the screen just for a bit of a change. Let's go back there. Excuse me. Yeah. So right, I've spoken about our Discord community server. Let's put the old microphone a bit closer. Maybe a little bit better. Trowel Talk, Stuart's Facebook group, growing extremely well. Fantastic place for any help that you might want. Anything you want to put up on there, I recommend you join it. And yeah, Stuart's a fantastic bloke. It's a great place where you won't get any abuse if you're a novice or a DIYer, and if you do, Stuart will reprimand the people and generally just take them off the site. So, because if you want to go on a site where they give you grief, there's lots to choose from, but that will not be tolerated on Trowel Talk, as it wouldn't be on any of my stuff. So Trowel Talk Plasterers Help Group is, in my opinion, the best Facebook group that you could become a part of. Me over there, that's just me using my old speed skim on the stairwell wall. Now I put on a big old wall that day. I did all that bottom wall right up to the ceiling upstairs, and that wall at the back just behind me, I put that on as well. And this is before I started using retarders or speedy uppy mixers in my mix. And thinking back, I don't know how I got all that gear on without breaking a sweat. At the time, someone put in the comments, "Oh, did you put some kind of retarder in it?" And I thought, no, I'm just bloody good. But yeah, as I've told a lot of you before, I've got really lazy since retarders and just use them now, so I can go a bit slower. What else? Yeah, Christmas is coming, guys. Are you excited? Or is it too soon? I went to Costco's the other day. They've already got all the Christmas gear on the shelves, which is a bit early. Yeah, it's only the beginning of September, for heaven's sake. And I know it'll come around quick, but I mean, days are already getting shorter and it's already getting dark out now. Oh dear. Diggity, what's your thoughts on using bonding in bathrooms? Yeah, I've had no problem with using bonding in bathrooms. In a lot of cases, I bonded the walls only, and the tiler has stuck the tiles. Excuse me, I'm gonna sneeze. Has stuck the tiles directly to the bonding. Most tilers I've ever met will do that, no problem. If the bonding's nice and flat, they're more than happy. They say there's no point in skimming it. There will be some tilers that will not touch a wall that's bonded, or not unless at least it's got a skim on it as well. Their reason for that, I don't quite know. But yeah, I've used bonding on a lot of bathroom walls for people in the past. You just got to make sure it's nice and flat, not just kind of whack it up and hope for the best. I just hope it looks flat. But yeah, bonding. Obviously, if there is water ingress to bonding over a long period of time, it will rot it and it will get soggy. But yeah, it doesn't stop me from using it. People can have, if they want, sand and cement, if we're talking about plasters as opposed to sticking up some kind of aquaboard or something like that, then yeah, you put sand and cement on a wall that's going to be tiled, and especially if you put waterproofer in it, then that obviously will do a pack of job. But as long as the whoever's fitting the bathroom hasn't got a drill or screw anything into the wall, I mean, it's hard enough to try and drill a hole through porcelain tiles, and a lot of people buy porcelain tiles now compared to ceramic. They are like rock. Although you can buy diamond tip drill bits, you burn them out in like 2 holes. You're trying to fix something up if you're lucky. So yeah, so if you got that, and then you've got sand and cement wall behind it, got to help the person doing the fitting up. But yeah, so long story. Bonding is, I suppose people would argue, is not the ideal thing to put behind or tiles or in a bathroom. But that's what I use on or have used on occasions. Salter, mate, in your vids you're super clean. Do you ever drop much, or is it just me? Even just from mixing, it splashes everywhere. You do get a bit of splashing when you're mixing that, mate. That will depend a lot on, as I was saying earlier, about the kind of paddle you've got on your whisk. Some paddles, I've seen some like flat paddles, literally like this. They've got a kind of cutout in them, and I'm just imagining those whizzing round. That you come anywhere out near the top, and it will just go everywhere. Whereas the whisk, like the ones in my videos on my Refiner that come with it, or you can buy similar to screw in when they wear out. They're designed to kind of like draw the plaster down and suck it up onto the whisk, so it like draws everything in and knocks all your lumps and stuff out. Don't splash as much, but of course you've got to be careful. The Refiner is a 2-speed, so I keep it on a low speed when I'm mixing up smaller amounts, and I only put it up to high speed if I'm doing like a 2-bag mix, because that will then, the first mix I'll do on the lower speed, stick the second bag in, and then I'll whoosh it up on the faster speed, and it won't go splashing everywhere, which it would if I use the fast speed on just 1 bag in one of those big tubs. Yeah, I'm not super clean, mate, but I make sure, as you've probably seen, I cover everything in plastic. The floors I cover wall to wall with that stuff I buy on the rolls, and tape it all down around the edge. So if it's on a hard floor, like it was on this job I just finished, when I took that up, his floor was a bit dusty and stuff before I started, but they're having it sanded anyway. But I couldn't help myself at the end but actually wash the floor, because when the job is finished and you wash that floor, and it was a dark floor as well, and that just kind of made it really. Although the plastering looked good at the end of the day, until I actually washed the floor and it was nice and proper clean. I didn't polish it, but gave it a good wipe over, and yeah, it just finishes off the job and makes it look nice. And probably quite a few of my jobs, I will film the end result once I've cleaned the floor. I mean, a lot of them you can see how much stuff I've got on the floor, but no, it gets an alright old mess. And even if people are chucking out a carpet, if they're chucking it out at the end of the day or the next day, then I'll ask them, and then I won't bother with plastic. But if they're getting rid of it, but not for a few weeks or whatever, I'll say, well, I'll cover it anyway. And then again, when you pick up your plastic, it looks great. But no matter, I try and be as clean as I can be. But I'm not particularly, if you walk into one of my jobs right in the middle of it, I probably look exactly the same as yours with me. So as long as you've got the floor well covered, especially if it's carpet, and you do a good tidying up job at the end, then cool. So no, it's not just you, mate. It's everybody. Plastering has got to be one of the messiest trades out there. It's the only trade I know where the gear you buy like wrecks your van or your car. The amount of dust that just floats around and sticks to everything. Whereas if you're a chippy, your biggest problem is probably sawdust, and I can live with that. And it smells quite nice as well. There's plaster and PVA drifting around your car, getting everywhere. Because let's face it, bags of plaster, as sealed up as they are, they're not sealed, are they? You put them down and and all your plaster dust comes out and just sticks to your dashboard and everywhere else. You can't fit a Hoover nozzle. So, yeah. Um, no worries, mate. Would it be okay to use bonding on Artex ceilings in bathrooms? Skim. Yes, mate. Bathrooms that I've had to do where the ceiling is Artex, and they said, "Can you do the ceiling?" And I go, "Yep, I'll." If it's not so bad or so spiky it needs overboarding, 9 times out of 10 it can be bonded and skimmed. And in a bathroom as well. Yes, the last few bathrooms that I've done, I can't think back to a bathroom ceiling that's been Artex that I haven't done that I didn't do with bonding and finish. And as I say, I've had no issues with it and no comebacks. No one ringing to say there's any problems. Yes, mate. Short answer. Bond and skim bathroom ceiling. Not an issue. Not an issue. Some people might argue, but hey. Mark, have you ever used Carlite Ultra Finish? No, I've used back when you could get it. You don't seem to be able to get it now. Ordinary Carlite Finish before the old multi finish came out, but I've not tried the Ultra Finish yet. I've heard a few things about it that seem to be fairly good, but no, it's a case of do I want to get myself a few bags and try it out and see what it's like. But at this point, Mark, I haven't actually used the gear, but I might just get a bag of it and use it on the walls and actually that made quite a good video, wouldn't it? I think. Not that it look much different to plastering with any other plaster, but I could review it at the same time, so I'll probably do that. If I'm going to buy a bag of the stuff, I think it's more expensive, isn't it? But it's meant to be very, very fine. But back in the day, when you it's not really used much now, especially with the dotting and dabbing. But when you floated a wall with browning, which the only terrible thing about browning when you used to mix it up, or even if you mix some up now, but if you mixed it up in the tin bath, when you mix bonding up in a tin bath, you put the water in, you put the bonding in, and the bonding sinks into the water, and you start like shoving it around and using a rake to mix it in. And when you put a bag of browning on a bath full of water, most of it floats on top. It made it harder to mix initially in a bath or in a big tub if you used it now in a tub. But it was very easy to float with, and it doesn't stick to concrete, it only sticks to bricks. So when you got to a part that was concrete, you had to use bonding, which was a lot of faffing about. So I think then they started using hardwall or just doing everything in bonding and saying let's not bother with the browning. But the smooth finish using ordinary Carlite finish that you could get at the time over the top of browning, and I've never felt anything so smooth. Absolutely difficult to describe. You have to see it and be able to kind of touch it. And even when they used to do Seraphite, never knew how to say it, back in the day, which you can't get anymore, you could polish that up so it looked like you'd varnish the wall. It was that shiny, it looked like glass. And that would happen, you could do that quite easily, a couple of trowel overs, and it would start to really see your face in it. But even that didn't feel as nice as Carlite finish over the top of browning. Over the top of bonding, it just doesn't feel the same. But I'm assuming there's a possibility that it will be, might be as good as that kind of how it was back then. Use the Ultra Finish. I'll buy a bag and I'll do a video. Okay, I'll put it on the channel. Cheers, mate. James, when you plaster a ceiling with coving, what wipes do you usually use to clean the coving with, or do you tape them up? No, I don't tape them up, or I just clean them off with my finger and my thumb, and run a small water brush along the edge. That does a lovely job. But when I'm doing a ceiling that's got cove, I will go around, especially if I'm doing the walls as well. I'll go around the top and the bottom once I'm done with decorating caulk to get a nice straight white line all around the bottom of the cove and a nice straight white line around the top of the cove. It looks beautiful. Again, I've done that for years, and when I paint it up, it looks great. Jackie, what would you say is the best way to get a nice finish around little slithers either side of plug sockets, etc., etc.? They are, mate, an absolute pain in the bum. Any kind of sockets. I mean, the great thing about this job I was on today was all the sockets had been taken off, and the wires were hanging out, but they were short enough I could stick them all into the wall. And to get the best finish is if you've got no sockets on at all, and you can ask a customer, and a lot of them are electrically orientated, and you say, well, if you take the sockets off, and they go like, whoa, do I need to get an electrician in? Which, if they're willing to, say, well, that'd be a great idea. But 9 times out of 10, you don't, and you have to plaster around the socket. Nothing worse than trying to plaster around a socket that's been completely undone from the wall and is hanging off and against the wall, because you have to keep lifting the thing up, trying to go around it, which most guys will know is a headache, but it's what you have to do. And the probability of you getting that perfectly flat all the way around the socket hole is fairly slim because your wires are all in the way and your socket's in the way. Obviously, if there's no socket there at all, you can just get a lovely finish around it and then just clean out the edges of it after. But all you can basically do, mate, is buy these sets of little trowels that go from really thin, not even trowels, they're like filling knives really. Whack the stuff around the socket as best as you can initially while it's still soaking wet. Like with most things, when it's soaking wet, you can't really do a lot with it. It still looks a bit rough. But as it's starting to pick up, especially nearer the end of it picking up, you can start to get a really nice finish around the socket then, using these little filling knives. You can buy cheap ones, but they're all like carbon steel and they go rusty within a couple of days and quite irritating. You splash out and get some stainless steel ones and look after them. Oh, excuse me. Then they're the best thing to do the job with. But it doesn't make the job much easier to be at the end of the day. But if the sockets are gone, great. If they're in, which they are in most people's houses, then that's what you'll have to do, mate. The only way around it. Gareth, evening, Gareth. The best way to finish around. How would you go about filling a large gap between ceilings, boards? Is bonding the way to go rather than? If you've got a large gap between boards, then you're better off putting, in my opinion, putting bonding in the gaps and letting that go, and then taping them up if they're in a position where you can tape them. If the gaps in between on a ceiling or on a wall or at an edge, and you can take your fiberglass tape around it. But I'd fill them in with bonding first, and then then tape them with your fiberglass tape, and then skim over the top. You can whack finish in big gaps, but finish does tend to be a bit more brittle if you're filling in a gap or a hole with it. Probably at the end of the day, won't make a hell of a lot of difference. But I would tend, if I've got a big gap, I will tend to use bonding. If the gaps are fairly small, I mean, technically, you're not meant to butt plasterboards up tight. You're meant to have a small gap in between. I know you were talking about bigger gaps, but just might as well chuck it out there in general. Plasterboard is meant to have so many mil gap in between each one, but some of mine are like that, and others I've got them butted up tight. And again, I've never had any real issues with it. But technically, you're not meant to butt them up tight. But I'll chuck that in. Hope that helps. Oh dear. No worries, Jackie. No worries, mate. Thanks for coming along. It's nice to get questions asked on here, and we generally have quite a good old chat. I don't know how long you've been watching it this evening, but you can also ring into the studio. I've got a phone number 07516 214 983 07516 214 983, and you can talk to me live. But that's probably easier if you're watching this on a TV, and you can use your phone to ring, but there is a time delay, so you'd have to turn your telly down. But if you're already typing up and watching this on your phone, then you'd have to come off of YouTube to ring me, wouldn't you? So, which is why most of the guys don't bother. But we do get the occasional call. We nearly get one every time. Didn't get one last week. Don't think we're going to get one this evening. What's the time now? We normally go on to about 8:30, and it is 8:10 already. That time flies when you're having fun. But you can ring up this station and Anthony, yay! Finally caught a stream, sounding great, man. Cheers, mate. I did nearly on the 1,000 subs, mate. Fantastic, 900 and something, isn't it? No worries, Gareth. No worries. Zoltar, Hot one tomorrow, chaps. So early finishes, please. Oh, I'm off tomorrow. Thank God for that. But yeah, the warm weather's nice, but when you're plastering, it's the only good side of winter when you're plastering is that you can just work hard. You get nice and warm. But when it's baking hot, there's not a lot you can do to cool down, is there? Especially if you're bashing out a big set. But yeah. Andy, thanks for coming along, mate. Even stick your nose in here for a little while and have a little chat. I did see that video that I commented on today, mate, as well. Very good as ever. To anyone else that doesn't know, Anthony has got his own YouTube channel, and look him up and watch some of his videos. If you wanna pop a link up, mate, you're more than welcome. Yep, this is me on plastering school, or one of my plastering school videos up on the top there, just me waffling on about different types of angle beads and what they're for. And at that point, and even now, they're getting quite expensive. I mean, if you buy thin coat beads in big boxes, you can get them at a reasonable price. But if you go like a B&Q or man, I'm getting old. It's just my brain is going. It's old early onset. Selco or places like that, you can. They're working out like over £5 a bead, and I think. Oh, but anyway, I'm not going to waffle about that because I moan about that all the time. Okay. Right. So have we got on this screen earlier? Yep. Again, a reminder, anyone new that's tuned in that's not been here before, I'm Eric the Plasterer. I've been a plasterer for 37 years from South London. I'm here to answer any of your plastering questions, whether you are a newbie, a DIYer, a time-served tradesman. This is a place to come to ask questions or just have a chat in general. If you want to have a chat about any tools that you think are great or rubbish, I'm more than willing to listen. As I say, you can ring up and talk to me, or you can type up here. The Ask the Plasterer Discord community, which is here. Links are in all my descriptions in my videos. If you click on the link, it will send you an invite. As simple as that, and just follow the few instructions on there, and you'll become a member, and you can chat to me anytime you like, basically. Not in the middle of the night though, if you can't sleep, but during the working day or in the evening, if you want to pop something on there, you can talk to me or any of the other guys. And a lot of the regulars that come to watch this evening are regulars on there on the community as well, and it's a great little it's a great little site. It's good to have a chat, a bit of a laugh, and put up photos and stuff, and just generally ask the odd question of each other any day, rather than having to wait for every other Monday or putting a comment on one of my videos. Anthony, cheers, man. I'm just loading my van for tomorrow's job. No rest for the wicked. Oh, Anthony, yeah, I hate that feeling, mate. That's what I try and. I'm assuming did you finish a job today and then you're going straight to another one tomorrow? That's why I try and leave gaps. I know I'm getting old and lazy. Leave gaps in my job, so if they do go well, I've got a bit of respite to say, right, well, tomorrow I'm going to go and pick up my gear and get all sorted for the next job, rather than having to rush home from, especially if you've finished the job, you have to clean it all up, take all your tools home, and then you shoot home and you think, oh, I've got to shoot down to wherever and get me gear for tomorrow's job, and then load it up. Or even if you've got it in the garage, you're still going to get it all kind of sorted and loaded up, ready for the next morning. And I'm at that age, mate, where I think, oh, give me at least a day to sort myself out. So, but I know the feeling, mate. I know the feeling. Good luck with that. And don't work too hard tomorrow. And I hope you're not working weekends, Anthony, either. Dear. Lee, Eric, you ever tried the citric acid to slow the plaster down? No. As I said before, I started using admixes, which hasn't been for that long. And how long I've been using them now? 8 months, 6 months. I wasn't a fan of trying to slow down or speed up my plaster, apart from trying to maybe chuck a bit of dirty water in a bit of bonding if I wanted to try and get it to go off quicker. 9 times out of 10, it seemed to either not work at all or slow the bonding down from setting. And people says, "No, you can put cream of tartar or whatever it is into into your finish to make it last a bit longer. But then I think, wow, how much do you put in? How much longer does it last? And so I never entertained it. When I first had some contact with Easy Mix about their additives and that, I said, well, I'll have a go of it and review it, but I'm not massive keen on the stuff, to be honest. But but now I've always got a plenty with me for either slowing down a set because I'm to retard it, just because I want to go a bit slower, not because I want to put more walls on, because I'm at that age. And but the speeding stuff up, like if you're doing a patch of bonding and it's taking forever to go off, and you're waiting to skim the wall that the bonding's on. It's lovely to be able to whack a bit of bonding on it, and 20 minutes later it's rock hard, and you can get a skim on it. So I've converted to using admixes, but I've never. But prior to doing that, I've never used the any of the like citric acid or anything like that to try and control the sets. The good thing about admixes is because they're kind of like worked out technically how much is in a sachet and how much to put it with and how long that should last for. It's more accurate. It's not kind of guesswork and hoping it lasts long enough or it doesn't go off too quick if you're using the right amount of gear. Anthony, yeah, I'm getting close. Fingers crossed by the end of the week. Yeah, I should think so, mate. Yeah, I mean your video. I mean you crack them out there, mate. I mean you're working hard because them jobs that you video, they're not like little things. You're cracking on with those, and you're doing the filming. And I know as well as anybody, mate, how long editing and stuff like that takes, and putting in your transitions and all the rest of it. And now you do a pucker job, mate. It's well deserved. And yeah, if you keep it up, mate, you'll go from strength to strength. No worries at all. No worries at all. Yeah, so yeah, I look forward to seeing that, and you'll be able to monetize them, mate. All you'll earn thousands of pennies once you can monetize your channel. Okay, but you can do the apply to do the Amazon affiliate stuff as well. So like I do for your links, so you get a little bit of kickback from stuff that people buy through your links. It's nothing to write home about. You couldn't live off it, or not until you've got about I don't know, a lot more followers than we've got. But the bit you do get now and again, you kind of think, oh, if you can multiply that by, if you had like 20, 30, 40,000 or 100,000 subscribers, then yeah, a lot of guys do YouTube full time if they've got enough subscribers because of the income they can make, or by promoting products for companies that will pay them to do it or sponsor their particular video, as they call it. So it's all good, mate. So yeah, getting your first 1,000 subscribers is the first stepping stone. So yeah, I look forward to seeing you there, mate, on the old 1,000+. Lee, hi. I was putting that Lee. Right, okay, mate. James, when you PVA your ceiling, do you use a painter pole or just roll it by hand? I use a pole now. Oftentimes, and for ages, I used to get up a ladder with my roller, with my PVA, and put it on with that. And I thought, why don't you put it on a pole now? Make life a bit easier. So yeah, and so most of the time now, I'll use a pole if I'm PVAing the ceiling rather than up and down my ladder. Or like I have done it on my stilts before, which is quite easy. I've got my bucket up on my spot board and walk around on my stilts with it in my hand. But 9 times out of 10, yeah, I'll do a ceiling with a decorator's pole, put it on my PVA, and I'll just go around the edges with a brush afterwards, which was always wise to do. There was a point where I used to put PVA on with a roller. I wouldn't do the edges, I'd only do as far as the roller would go. But of course, then when you're putting your skim on, the edges start sucking in quicker than you want them to, which just gives you grief. With your edges, but I learned that the hard way a long time ago. But yeah, so I use a pole, mate. It's the short answer. Gareth, this may be another question that should be obvious. Yeah, no worries at all, Gareth. Does it matter that much if you board an area with multiple pieces for ease of fitting alone over using larger boards? Yeah, because basically the idea of using whole boards or large bits of boards is having less joints so less possibility of cracking. But I have, and just kind of does a neater, easier job. But you do end up with a hell of a lot of waste that I've got left over from this job I've just finished that I've got to get shot of. And getting shot of plasterboard nowadays is an absolute pain as well. But you can use smaller, as long as they're not ridiculously small and you're doing a whole wall in them. But you can use smaller pieces. You've got to make sure they're well fixed, and you do have to make sure you've got fiberglass tape over every single joint. Yeah, if you do that well, then it should be okay at the end of the day. But it's better. It's recommended to use larger boards if you can, rather than use bits and pieces. But you'll get less waste if you use chunks of plasterboard. Especially if it's a small area anyway, it doesn't really matter. You don't have to cut a whole board to fit perfectly. Having joints in it is fine. So yeah, Gareth, crack on with it, mate. I mean, if you're doing a great big massive wall, then you want to. I always use 6x3 boards because they're easy to cart about. They're easy to get up and down people's staircases. This is when you're doing it for a customer as opposed to maybe in your own house. And yeah, 8x4s, they're heavy. Can't get them up people's staircases unless there's two of you. And even then, sometimes you have to cut a piece off because it won't go quite where you want it to go. And a good chance of damaging the decor in the customer's house by scraping it with an 8-foot by 4-foot ball when you're trying to get them in and out, especially up to bedrooms. So always use 6x3s, but yeah, it's a good idea to use whole boards when you can. But yeah, using pieces is okay as long as you've got a good fixing around the edges of those pieces as well. Because any movement, if you get fixing near the middle of two bits of board, but the edges can do this. Even with fiberglass tape on, you're going to get cracking. So just be a little bit careful. But yeah, you can do that. JJ12004. You'll have to change that, mate. You can't change that to an easier name. Have you ever done site plastering? Yeah, years ago I used to do. Well, my work was site plastering. I used to work for building firms, and the what do you want to know? I covered a bit about it. I think it was on the last live stream we did. Someone else asked me, but yeah, there was loads of site work back when I was doing it, which was like the 80s through to the 90s. Working for builders, working on site, it was quite nice because they'd take you on at a drop of a hat. There used to be a lot of site work before they went over to just a lot of dry lining. You could literally go onto a building site and say when the spread's starting, and they'll go, "Oh, they've started," or next week. You go, "Well, I'm a spread. You know, what's the day rate or what you're offering?" And they literally give you a job there and then, and off you go. And there was a lot of work like that, which was fantastic. It was nice to work with a lot of other guys on big jobs, like a big hotel I worked on, and some other companies I worked on the FT building near the river. When that was new, I don't know, they may have knocked it down now for all I know. But and on some other big sites near Tower Bridge, and there's not too much pressure on you if you're on a day work because there's so many guys all over the place spreading their section or bit or whatever. But that was quite nice. I did enjoy it. If you want to know anything specific about site work from back then, as I haven't done site work for at least 15 years now. Because domestics pay better, they're less risky, and you get to move around, which is nice. But yeah, if you want to know anything specific about site work, yeah, drop a line here and I'll try to answer it. Or you can ring in on. I'll just put that one more time, even though we're close to the end of the show. Where are we? Yeah, you can call in on 07516 214 983. I don't think the phone's on silent and I've missed any calls. That's annoying. I did that in the beginning when we were doing these before. I had about 4 missed calls on the phone to the studio. But I had it on silent and I didn't, because I was so busy waffling, I didn't notice it going off. That should be all right now. Right, hang on, I don't want to miss anything. Lee, where do you buy your extra time from and what price you at the moment? For me, Lee, yeah, I'm getting it free gratis because I plug a lot of the gear for the guys, and which I'm happy to because I love the product. If I didn't love it, I definitely wouldn't plug it, and I wouldn't want a load of free gear from them if I didn't like it. So fortunately for me, we scratch each other's backs on that point, so I don't have to pay for it, and I get sent it if I need some. I can. I've got loads at the minute, so I don't need any at the minute. Being a one-man band, I can only get through so much plastering additives. But so I'm very fortunate in that respect because the less stuff I have to pay for, the better. At the end of the day, and I'm hoping to get the channel bigger, so people start sending me. Say, "Oh, would you like to try the DeWalt cordless?" We'll send you a free one, and why don't you do a whole video on it? I'd have to get a bit bigger channel-wise before DeWalt do something like that. But we live in hope. Oh dear. Yeah, so to keep that in mind, Andy, as well, mate. When you're big enough, mate, you can get all sorts. But that's the whole part of what you put in the work for as well. Excuse me. Where are we? Chris. Hello, Chris. Where you been? Use the bead fix tape for beads. Opinions. I don't know if anyone else has used the bead fix tape for sticking the angled beads. I've seen a few reviews on it, which was kind of like, oh yeah, it was okay, but they weren't raving about it. I think it's quite expensive. I'm not absolutely sure. I'm so happy with my mitre glue that I can't be bothered to use a tape to stick the beads because as quick as that is, and I've heard in some, like I think one of the guys that reviewed it said for sticking to plasterboard, it was really great. He said, but if you were sticking it to anything else, it wasn't that good. But then he perhaps doesn't do what I do, which is PVA everything first, and I use neat PVA and I let it go off. So then the bead fix tape should stick absolutely fine to old plaster for sticking beads on if it's been PVA first. But yeah, so I probably wouldn't bother using the gear because I'll just keep splashing out on the mitre glue. unless I'm doing rendering, in which case I'll fix my render beads up with whatever gear I'm using, be it bonding or be it sand and cement. But sticking beads with sand and cement is a bit more long-winded because you need to let them go off overnight. You can't really start whacking up sand and cement on them the same day because you'll knock them off. If anyone else has got any views on the bead tape, pop it up there. Let us know. Right, Lee. Sorry, Lee. I don't even talk to me now. I'm talking to Anthony. What are you up to there, Anthony? You got off just got off a stag do. Oh mate, stag do's and plastering and making videos. I don't know how you do it, Anthony. I really don't. I might get some. I might get some of the bead tape just to do a review on it and see what I think of it and see how it goes down. We shall see. Where are we? How are we doing for time? 8:29. Right, guys. As much as I love doing Ask the Plasterer, and I'm not seeing your smiling faces, but I can imagine your smiling faces while we're chatting up there. So, have I missed anything? Right, hang on. Chris, there used to be fixed tape for beads. Opinions. Lee, there's too much drink then. Chris, opinions on the master socket beads and downlight beads options. We'll have to see what comes back on those on Trail Talk or on Stuart's Facebook channel. He's done a review on the bead boxes you can buy to go over socket holes with. Over socket holes with to then skim over and then break them out. Again, I don't know if it's something I would bother with, but in my opinion, I don't think, well, what's the point? But they do seem to work well if you're going to use them. I don't know how much they are Stuart might have mentioned it in his review, but I'm not exactly sure. I have again used today actually when a guy had a radiator that had an awful lot of bracket screws, the plaster spot dots that you put on, and they bleed through the plaster so you can see where the hole is. So rather than having to mess about when you're doing a wall, going around screws or anything else and risking whacking your shroud against anything, or just the fact that whatever you might put in the holes in the way, you guys just stick a little blue dot on there or red dot and plaster over it, and it just bleeds through the plaster. Shows you exactly where your hole is. It's fantastic. Love them. Brett, evening, Brett. Gareth, sorry, Brett, you did answer a question for you earlier, mate. Sure. Gareth, thanks for the help. No worries, mate. I've found you on YouTube and enjoying the videos. Cool, nice one, mate. Appreciate it. I shall try and do my best. As I say, I'm doing a DIY series at the moment of about 10 videos, which I'm hoping to whack up there all at once, so people can go from one to the next if they so wish. I'm trying to make them so that you'll want to watch the next one. But that's more for your DIY, though. There's a lot of stuff on there that guys still might want to know. But I will do some more reviews about stuff coming up, because at the moment, apart from if I get something really exciting to do that's worth videoing that will be of interest to you guys or any other people that are into plastering, things can get a bit tight on the front. But I should endeavour to soldier on doing my thing. But yeah, thanks Gareth for subscribing, and it's all cool stuff. Chris should do a review on the bead fix tape and the bead master socket. Okay, mate. For you, Chris, I shall do a review on those as well. Okay. Right, for this evening, I think we'll call it a night, guys. Thank you, everybody, for coming along. Next Ask the Plasterer is in a fortnight's time on a Monday, 7 o'clock, and I look forward to seeing you then. Thanks for coming along tonight. Thanks for subscribing to the channel, for watching the videos, and just for being lovely people in general. And hopefully I will see quite a few of you on the Discord community server. Links in the description below. Just click on that and you will get an invite, and you can join and chat to us on there anytime you like. Yeah, see you soon, James. Lee, extra time should do us all a promotion code. Well, I'll have a chat with him, mate, and we'll see what we can do. See what we can do. Mark, nice one. Cheers, Mark. Cheers, Chris. Cheers, Gareth. Cheers, Anthony. What else is on here? Lee. Lee. Diggity. On my usual. Silver. Thanks, guys. I won't say goodbye to everybody. You're probably all be gone by the time I finish. But this is Eric the Plasterer from plasterer.org.uk. Ask the Plasterer. Signing off. I'm still no faster at finding the off button. See you soon, guys. Cheers.